Have you ever wondered why certain words linger long after they're spoken? How a single phrase can echo in someone's mind for days, weeks, even years? Words are not merely sounds. They are containers of emotion, energy, and unconscious meaning. When you speak with authenticity, you do not just communicate, you penetrate the psyche. You awaken something hidden, something waiting to be seen. Today I will reveal 3 words that, when spoken from truth, create a psychological bond, but not of manipulation, but of deep resonance. There are few experiences more profound to the human soul than being truly understood. You see, every one of us walks through life wearing masks, subtle disguises shaped by culture, family, and fear. We show the world what we believe it can handle, not what we truly are. But beneath these masks lies a silent ache, the yearning to be seen without pretense. When you tell someone, "I understand you," you do not just speak to their mind, you speak to their unconscious, into the hidden part that longs for recognition but fears exposure. Most people listen to respond. They listen through their own projections, constantly measuring what they hear against their own emotions. But true understanding requires something rare: silence of the ego. When a man meets a woman who truly understands him, he experiences a shock to the system. It is not romantic in the beginning, it is existential. He feels a strange peace, as if for the first time, his chaos makes sense to someone. And that feeling, my dear, is not easily forgotten. Men, though they may appear rational, often live imprisoned by emotions they cannot name. From childhood, they are told that vulnerability is weakness, that emotions make them less of a man. So they grow skilled at hiding, behind logic, behind humor, behind control. But these defenses, though they protect him from pain, also isolate him from love. The words "I understand you" bypass those defenses. They tell him, "You can be seen here and still be safe." The unconscious mind works in images, not words. So when he hears your understanding, what he truly perceives is acceptance. He doesn't translate your phrase intellectually, he feels it emotionally. A woman who understands him becomes a mirror to his soul, not because she agrees with everything he says, but because she listens without judgment. And in her presence, his inner world no longer feels like a battlefield. Understanding is not about knowing his facts. It is about sensing his fears. When he talks about work, you hear the insecurity beneath his confidence. When he retreats into silence, you don't chase. You sense that he is protecting his emotional space. You recognize his moods not as rejection, but as the language of his unspoken self. This kind of perception creates what I call psychic resonance. It means your presence aligns with his inner state, without needing constant verbal explanation. Now understand this: when you say, "I understand you," without expectation or manipulation, you awaken something ancient in him: trust. Trust is not built through promises. It is built through emotional safety, and once a man feels that safety, he starts revealing more of himself. Not because you ask, but because he wants to. You have opened a door that he thought was forever locked. But let me warn you, do not mistake understanding for rescuing. To understand someone is not to take away their struggle. It is to sit beside them in it. When you try to fix a man's wounds, he feels mothered. But when you simply see those wounds and still choose connection, he feels respected. And respect is the foundation of desire. That is why the words, "I understand you," have such power. They do not control him, they liberate him. You shift from being someone who seeks his attention to someone who holds his truth. And in that emotional depth, attraction transforms into reverence. He may not articulate it, but he will think of you, not as another woman, but as the one who finally made him feel at home within himself. Every time life challenges him, his unconscious will recall that feeling, that rare peace of being understood. Even if you're not around, your presence will echo, because you touched a place that no one else dared to reach, his hidden self. The part that he hides, not because it is unworthy, but because it is too sacred to expose. So when you say, "I understand you," Do not use it lightly. Let it come from awareness, from patience, from genuine empathy. Those 3 words are not meant to manipulate. They are meant to mirror the soul. And when spoken with truth, they do what no charm or appearance ever can. They anchor you in his psyche. Long after words fade and faces blur, the memory of being understood will keep you alive in his mind. Not as an idea, but as an emotion he cannot forget. Would you like me to now continue with the second keynote, I believe in you, in the same tone and flow? And when a man feels understood, something remarkable begins to stir within him. The desire to become more. That is when the next truth emerges. I believe in you. These words are not mere encouragement. They are the breath of life to a weary spirit. To believe in someone is to remind them of their potential when they have forgotten it themselves. It touches something deeper than affection and it awakens purpose. You see, every man lives in an inner battle between who he is and who he wishes to be. The world constantly tells him he must prove his worth through success, status, or control. But beneath all of that performance lies an insecurity. Am I enough? When a woman looks into his eyes and says, I believe in you, she does not just soothe his ego. She speaks to the hero within his unconscious. She calls forth the part of him that wants to rise, not because he is demanded to, but because he feels seen as capable of greatness. Carl Jung once said that every person carries both light and shadow, and the task of life is to integrate them. A man who has not yet faced his shadow doubts his worth because he only sees fragments of himself. When you tell him you believe in him, you are not blind to his flaws. You simply recognize his capacity to transcend them. You are, in essence, lending him your faith until he can find his own. But understand this: genuine belief is never loud. It does not shout promises or offer endless praise. It is quiet, steady, and consistent. It's the look that says, I see your struggle, but I know you'll overcome it. It's the calm in your voice when he fails, the steadiness of your presence when he doubts himself. This kind of faith becomes a mirror through which he begins to rediscover his strength, and that reflection changes everything. When a man senses your belief, something shifts within him psychologically. The fear of failure that once paralyzed him transforms into motivation. He wants to live up to the image you see in him. It's not about pleasing you. It's about becoming the man he feels he could be when he's with you. Your belief becomes a bridge between his current self and his potential self. In Jungian language, you become the anima, the inner feminine force that guides him toward integration and wholeness. But be cautious, for belief must be rooted in truth, not fantasy. To believe in someone is not to ignore their weaknesses. It is to acknowledge them while trusting their capacity to grow. When your belief comes from honesty rather than illusion, it does not inflate his ego, it strengthens his spirit. He feels grounded, not glorified. What makes these 3 words unforgettable? I believe in you is their emotional rarity. Most people say them to gain favor or to soothe insecurity. But when they come from authenticity, they create a deep imprint in his unconscious. A man may forget your beauty, your words, your gestures, but he will never forget the person who believed in him when he didn't believe in himself. This kind of belief creates a subtle dependency, not of control, but of inspiration. He finds himself thinking about you when he faces obstacles. He remembers how your faith steadied him, how your words made his doubts seem smaller. Even in your absence, your voice lingers as an inner compass, the sound of encouragement whispering from his memory. And here lies the paradox. The more you believe in him without demanding love in return, the more he feels drawn toward you. Because belief that expects nothing becomes sacred. It feels pure, untainted by need or manipulation. It gives rather than takes. And in a world where most people seek validation, a woman who offers genuine belief becomes unforgettable. The mind may analyze attraction, but the heart remembers energy. And belief carries one of the highest frequencies of emotional energy. It elevates both the giver and the receiver. In believing in him, you awaken him. You also awaken yourself, your compassion, your patience, your depth. When a man meets such a woman, she becomes a symbol in his psyche, the embodiment of faith and calm. He will think of her not just with affection, but with reverence. Because she did what few ever did. She saw him not as he was, but as he could be. That is why belief is magnetic. It does not force love, and it cultivates it. It makes a man return in thought again and again to the one who made him feel powerful simply by believing he could be. Now, there is one phrase even deeper than belief, a question that reveals what his heart truly feels, one that bridges understanding and faith into connection. It is the final and most intimate of the three. I need you. And when you reach the quiet power of those final words, take your time. You have arrived at the rarest form of emotional understanding. These words are not about patience alone. They are about emotional wisdom. To say take your time is to tell someone you are safe to be yourself here. You don't need to rush your becoming. It's an offering of space, not silence, a sacred permission that so few people ever receive in their lifetime. Most relationships, both romantic and otherwise, crumble under the weight of expectation. People demand immediate clarity, constant reassurance, instant love. But the human heart does not move at the speed of the mind. It unfolds like seasons, quietly, cyclically, mysteriously. When you say to a man, take your time, you tell him you understand this rhythm. You remove the pressure to perform, and in doing so, you awaken something deep within him. Trust. Carl Jung often spoke about individuation, the process through which a person becomes whole by integrating their inner contradictions. This process cannot be rushed. Every man carries emotional layers that were built long before you appeared. Fears of rejection, wounds from childhood, the conditioning that tells him vulnerability is dangerous. When you tell him to take his time, you acknowledge this invisible architecture of his psyche. You're saying, I don't just want the parts of you that are easy. I'm willing to wait for the parts that are still healing. And that patience, my dear, is unforgettable, because what you are giving him is not time, it is dignity. You are telling him he can come to you without the need to prove, to please, or to pretend. A man may resist affection, but he will always surrender to understanding. He will think of you not as someone who pushed, but as someone who allowed. The more freedom you give, the more naturally he is drawn to you. But make no mistake, take your time is not a sentence of waiting forever. It is an energy of non-attachment. It says, I am here, but I am whole without you. When you're ready, meet me in truth. This balance between presence and independence is magnetic. It removes anxiety from the connection and replaces it with calm. And calm, not chaos, is what makes a man crave a woman's energy long after she's gone. When you speak these words, they must come from emotional maturity, not fear of loss. Because if you say, take your time, while secretly hoping it will make him chase you, he will sense the manipulation. But if you truly mean it, if your tone, your energy, your silence all echo peace, it becomes healing. You are not just giving him time, you are giving him emotional oxygen. In that space, love grows naturally without force, and here lies the beauty. When a man feels no pressure to open up, he eventually does. Slowly at first, then all at once. The more safe he feels, the more he reveals. And each confession deepens the bond, not through words alone, but through shared energy. He starts to think of you not as someone demanding his attention, but as the one person who understood his pace. And that kind of memory, and the memory of emotional safety, is what makes him think about you even in silence. In truth, take your time is an act of love disguised as patience. It is love that has no agenda, only understanding. It allows another to breathe, to heal, to evolve at their own rhythm. And what you get in return is not just affection, it is devotion. Because nothing binds two souls more deeply than the freedom to grow in the presence of one another. So, if you ever wish to leave a mark not just on his heart, but on his soul, remember these three expressions. I understand you, I believe in you, and take your time. Together they form the language of emotional depth. They do not demand attention. They inspire remembrance. And here are a few truths to carry with you. Love that lasts is never rushed. It matures through patience. Attraction built on emotional safety never fades. It deepens with time. And when you can offer space without losing connection, you embody the rarest form of beauty, the kind that lives in his mind long after the conversation ends. Because the woman who gives him peace will always be the woman he can't stop thinking about. If you're ready to unlock the hidden psychology of attraction, this video is your key. Watch till the end to discover how just 3 words can make him think about you all day. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share for more Jungian love insights and relationship wisdom.